Over the last year, artificial intelligence has been the headline act in nearly every Insurtech conversation. And as the buzz has grown, so have the questions about how to apply it meaningfully and whether the results can actually be trusted. I recently had the chance to spend the day with a company that's offering a clear answer to both of these questions, and in doing so in a way that felt refreshingly honest and genuinely impressive. I was invited to attend an exclusive event hosted by Lazarus AI. It's a company you may not have heard from, but I suspect that you soon will. It was held at the iconic Classic Car Club in New York City, and the event was called TracerCon, named after tracer rounds, that special ammunition that lights up in the air to show you where a shot came from and where it's going. And it was a fitting metaphor because this wasn't just a demo day, but it was a day built around clarity and not just about what their technology could do, but how it might change the way insurance work gets done. Unlike many product demos that I've seen before, which can feel somewhat scripted and rehearsed, this one was intentionally raw. And we were placed into these small teams and given a physical claims file to review, which represented the same data that a model had already ingested. Our job was to assess the legitimacy of an auto theft claim, and we did it by interacting with Lazarus AI in real time using natural language prompts submitted through professional prompt engineers. Each question that we asked led to a fast, structured response, highlighting potential inconsistencies in the file and displaying confidence scores and surfacing not just conclusions, but the reasoning behind them. It wasn't just pointing at fraud, it was showing us its work. And the speed was what caught most people by surprise.
We went through the exercise of running an actual claim file through the prompting process.
Right.
And then to see that basically what it took us 45 minutes to do, it could do on its own in about 4 was incredibly impressive.
What do you think about the things that you could possibly see through the agentic process that a human would not be able to see?
Yeah, I think it's being able to reference a bunch of different documents at the same time.
Right.
So even when you have a multi-screen setup, to be able to go back and forth, it doesn't have to do that because it doesn't have eyes. It doesn't have to look.
Right.
It can just put it all together in its context window all at the same time. So super impressive.
What sets Lazarus's technology apart is the way that their models have been trained. It's not just general language, but it's the language and the logic of insurance professionals. Rick 2, for example, uses powerful OCR to pull in all forms of documents and then layers a domain-specific large language model on top. It's even able to identify year, make, and model of a damaged vehicle just from a crash photo. That combination means that it can understand and explain things that might otherwise take a trained adjuster hours or maybe even days to piece together. For example, in our scenario, the AI raised a potential red flag that noted that the vehicle had been found close to the insured's business without any damage. Suspicious? And then Atlas, which is Lazarus's advanced orchestration and reasoning model, it can perform independent actions using tools including other AI models or web search applications. For example, it pulled in public data, including a prior insurance fraud conviction and social media posts that raised even more questions. The result wasn't a judgment. Instead, it was a prompt for further investigation. It was handed back to us, the humans. And that shift from document reader to investigative partner, that's where things got real. You know, what was really fascinating to me was just all of the other external data that you're able to bring into the process as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it surfed the web and did like a background check. It was scary and it was scary.
Scary, but illuminating. To be clear, it wasn't making accusations. It was surfacing context that we hadn't even thought to ask for. External enrichment in this case, it turned a routine claim into a red flag conversation, and it did so without ever losing the thread. Or the idea that humans remain central to the process, it came through clearly. This isn't about replacing adjusters or SIU investigators. It's about giving them tools to surface patterns and ask better questions and move faster. The model doesn't tell you what to think. Instead, it shows you what it sees and explains why it thinks it might matter. That distinction, tool versus teammate, kept coming up, especially in the conversation about triage and risk signaling and who gets what kinds of attention. Jake Tripp at Uncork, he put it better than I could.
I was excited to see Lazarus show off some of how their technology is not just finding the data, they do that really, really well, but helping you action on it. So some of the second order impacts of the data, the augmented processing that follows. If, for example, I'm pulling details out of a claim that's just been submitted to me.
Yeah.
can I decide if that claim is going to be a risky claim, as in the reserve's going to jump way up? If it needs to be handled by a more expert person, how do I get there? What they showed today, is really a new way of thinking about how to handle a lot of these high volume claims and pick out the ones that might be dangerous. So we're talking way above standard automation or STP. This is thinking about how to be better. So very excited about what they're showing today.
What Jake said really stuck with me because this goes beyond smarter workflow, and instead it's really smarter triage, the kind that helps you catch the outliers before they become the trend. One of the most fascinating aspects of the day was watching just how much the impact of phrasing to a question had on the quality of the insight returned. Prompt engineering, as it turns out, is quickly becoming a foundational skill. And that's something for carriers and insurance professionals to consider. What if your most valuable team member is the one who can translate your business problem into the right question for an AI model to process? It reminded me of the early days of Excel when knowing how to use it just ultimately didn't become optional anymore. And that's where we are now with prompting. It's becoming part of the modern toolkit.
Okay. And so one of the things we think about is how do these types of technologies impact the learning? I just think this is another challenge insurance has got to get on board with. And it was really intuitive. It was very easy. And John stepped away from the mic, but he was very good at giving us some context of going, it's not who you are in the business. It's like, who do you want the tool to be for this particular task?
And as we begin to wrap this session, one of the conversations that really stood out was about moving this kind of insight earlier into the process, for example, within the underwriting. So imagine surfacing these red flags before the policy is ever bound. Not only could you improve your loss ratio, you might avoid the risk altogether. That's not some distant future, folks. That's here. The technology is ready and it just needs the right people to put it to work. Events like TracerCon offer much more than a glimpse of the future. Instead, they're showing us that it's already in motion, and Lazarus, they're helping light the way. Thanks for tuning into this special edition of 5M Frontier. We'll see you on the trail.